demonic angel. I hope you guys all had a safe Halloween, and that's moving on to the next holidays. I have a really crazy story, though, of course, to go along with Halloween, and it's totally true, personal experience. Probably in the 2 months before Halloween, I started having particular dreams about people dying in car accidents, or not even so much the actual the death itself, but just scenarios where like I would be walking down a road and I would see people, like there's not a car accident, but here is these dead people just walking down the road with, grievous injuries. So it would range from me seeing these car accidents to I've seen like these wandering souls that we talk about in Buddhism, a lot of superstitions around Halloween where people salt their doors, or they leave offerings outside of their homes to appease wandering spirits so that the spirits don't come inside their home. But at first, because of the way that I am so open, I just obviously thought, okay, these are some dead people that need my help. It's all part of being a necromancer. But this was kind of different. It became apparent to me that was different because they weren't trying to get my help, like make me feel their feelings and unfinished business. This was just confused people not wanting to leave me, coming towards me, and not having that usual interaction where I kind of help them. They, sometimes it's like a telepathic way, relay these messages to me. So I thought, okay, they're trying to tell me something. And it just became so intense, like, I usually remember my dreams, but there was just this intensity to it that I told my family member about this, and he's listens to what I have to say, even though he's more of like a non-believer. I said, hey, you know me, I like to talk philosophy and tell you about what I do on YouTube, and rituals, the occult, but I don't really talk a lot about specific predictions. I do talk about how I help the dead, and I go to cemeteries and do my rituals and such. I said, these dead people, they're here for me. They're trying to warn me about something, and because it's this specific theme of accident victims, they don't want to leave me, and that's telling me that this is a warning. So I'm telling you that we need to get our car maintenance. I mean, it's a new car, but I thought, hey, that's good enough. That's a sound, logical explanation. Because he said to me, okay, yeah, no, I'm going to schedule some maintenance and such, regular things. And I thought, well, I paid attention to it. I heeded the warning, and I put it out there. I relayed that information, And that's really all I can logically do. The dreams continued in this way, and as I mentioned before, it's usually a brief interaction, and then they portray their feelings to me. I mean, sometimes this is about, it's like they're confused, but I quickly realize, they don't realize they're dead, or there's this kind of denial of different aspects of unfinished business. But this, I really can't say that I've ever experienced such intensity of just that they wanted to not leave me. And, I thought, like I said, I'll go, okay, I've done everything logical. Now, as Halloween approached, probably within the 48 hours or something before that, I really, I felt a nervousness set in. And, all those things that we think that I'm just nervous. The full moon energy, because it's a lot of energy. It can kind of create some, it brings out these kinds of feelings in all of us of heightened emotions, heightened sensitivity, and that can translate into nervousness. But this just was really persistent and there. And I kept thinking about, well, it's almost, it's almost my biological grandfather's 100th birthday, because he was born on Halloween 100 years ago. And just thinking about how I've only found out about him being my biological grandfather, for the last few years, and just taking all that information in and thinking that I hope he would, I still think in those logical terms of, I hope he would be proud of me, but I know he is, because he is a very close, kind of like a function like a spirit guide, just not as consistently present. So I have this medallion made of gold that he had when he was adopted, and it was a medal that he had from the orphanage, and somebody really liked his pious prayers and all this other stuff, because he was Catholic, and this was some kind of religious, I think like a nun that gave this to him. So I had that medal, and I just spent some time holding it, thinking about happy 100th birthday, Grandpa, kind of thing. And then I put it in like a dress pocket that I had. And I thought, this is, because it just made me feel, it really took a lot of that nervousness away. Just made me feel grounded, made me feel safe, because that's how it is. We find these objects that make us, attach significance, and it's amazing how that will work for us, right? But, so then we go, and the idea is we're going from our home to a different relative's home because of COVID. We were trying to get my niece to together with my nephew, so that out in the suburbs there would be a better chance of people doing trick-or-treating, because the inside the city and also more rural, there wasn't so much of that. But in the the suburbs, people have that money and stuff, and I think love to see kids happy, so they were still doing this, and that was the whole reason we were going. So we get everything ready, we go, everything's fine. I still, just this nervous feeling, still thinking about that. And on the way there, I I had my partner pull over, and I got out of the car, because it was across the street from like a gas station, and I left a little flower near where it's like a roadside memorial, and that really it was just something I thought that I felt compelled to do. I don't pull over too much like that. I do sometimes, but it's not very often. And I just left it's like one of those little fake paper flowers, and I was just like, hey, I'm thinking about you spirits out here today, and I hope you guys can all move on. I hope you people in this specific accident have moved on. And I got some feelings and kind of interactions with that, but it was very pleasant, very mild, and then we moved on. So I just couldn't believe that. I still can't believe the rest of the story, but we get back in the car, we drive, everything was fine, and that nervousness was there. But on the way home, I usually volunteer to drive a lot, because in this case my partner works a lot, and I just thought, hey, what I do is different, and I just haven't been working as much and this kind of stuff, as much as him. So I'm going to go ahead and volunteer, so I drove there. And I usually drive home. I usually drive, when we go out, whatever, to the store or most places, because that's usually how it is. However, I felt so drained as just that small experience of trick-or-treating with my nieces and nephews, that just drained me, and I just was like, nah, I can't drive. So on the way home, now it's the same road that I had earlier stopped at to pay my respects to a roadside memorial of a teenage girl and her baby who died in an accident before this road was modified to make it safer. Somebody tried to merge into that lane that we were in, and my partner was able to go ahead and go to the side of the road, the shoulder, and we were all able to be okay. But it was bad. It was bad because it's a long, desolate stretch of this straight road, and people behind us driving, they saw that, and nobody tried to pass this guy or go near him because he was swerving, taking up 2 lanes. Now we didn't see this driving until he almost merged into our lane. I'm out a lot. I drive a lot. There's these annoying types of things that people do, like they don't use their blinkers, or these, people riding too close on another's bumper. But this was a really serious, close accident, and it would have been bad. It would have probably flipped the car, hit from the side, and not been survivable. And that's my story. It's unbelievable, but it's true. And then of course wow, we're okay, and we just stayed in shock behind the guy and let him do his drunk driving. We weren't there long enough to call the police, didn't even get a license plate or whatever, but it was just very shocking. And then the next day I said to my partner, I said, hey, you remember when my cousin was over and I told this to you, because it was her and my partner, you guys, I told you that, and it was about, I think, like 5 or 6 weeks prior to this, about this. And I don't make these kinds of statements like, hey, watch out, like this. I mean, I do that in a more, you settle your arguments before bed, or you text me, hey, you text me when you get home so I know you're safe, because I know that tomorrow is promised to no one, that death is random and swift, and it's just because you feel safe. This whole subjective experience is a gift, and so I am very aware of that, and a lot of that has to do with my work in the occult. It really has enhanced my appreciation of being alive. And yeah, of course, my partner was just like, yeah, you did say that, and that, no, you don't make a whole bunch of claims like that. I mean, I'll say what's going on, but I'm not like, you need to specifically do this because I was warned about this. But I did, and then it happened. Now, that just blows my mind, because you know, as much as I embrace the occult and I try to look for psychological or rational explanations, this really makes me, this is why I do this. This is, I help people, I help deceased people, in a really, I care about them, I'm open to them. Obviously, for the most part, I stay away from those who have ill intentions for me, and there are plenty of those people, just like there are in life. But they know what I'm doing, and they reached out to me to make me understand that this was different. Now, the last part of my story, I guess it was kind of long and stuff, but that's okay. The last part of my story was this night before, and now I mentioned I didn't volunteer to drive home like I usually do, which was because I had just done some rituals, and nothing too fancy, just some sigil stuff, gazing meditations, very relaxing types of rituals. And that night, my partner was just kind of out, hit the pillow out, and I was hearing noises in the house, like for hours. The first thing I heard that night, the night before Halloween, was I heard a doorknob rattling. And I heard that, and of course, I get up, and because I don't usually, let me put it this way, maybe once every few months, I'll hear objects moving. I will experiencing something very minor that's paranormal, and that's kind of a result of necromancy, ritual, and these kinds of things. And then the types of grounding things I do, level that energy. But so it's not a huge deal. But this was like trying to get my attention, and so, the first doorknob I heard turning, I just didn't really think too much about it. Then I heard what sounded like these metal balls clanking together, and I came out to my living room, and I couldn't think of any kind of objects that would actually make that noise, and of course I didn't find anything. But like an hour after that, I heard what I think that normal people who, like when I go on paranormal investigations and they say they're having these experiences, and they hear muffled talking, because obviously the voices are coming from the astral plane. So there's that kind of muffled quality that can come out of that. That's what I was hearing. I was hearing that, and it was like in the hall. So I didn't get up to come check anymore, but I laid there and I listened to weird sounds happen all night. And I probably fell asleep at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's why I was so tired. But, and I'm a coffee drinker. I had my coffee, my vitamins, some tea, good stuff going on, good energy. And so I was totally fine to take the drive there, but I couldn't do it on the way home. Like, I was just like, I'm way too tired. That blows my mind, because now my house is silent. Back to normal. Like I said, this is why I help the dead, and this is why I suspend disbelief about take the rational world on one hand, and the emotional waters of the occult in this other, because I was able to experience these warnings, and it altered my life. By this keeping me awake, I didn't drive, and I probably, maybe I would have reacted differently than my partner. That's the key here, is that I was not meant to be driving, and I was warned about this months ahead of time. And the night before, it felt like I was living back when I was a child. It's less extremely scary, living in a haunted house again. And I know that these dead people that I help, they're my friends. And I think that they know that I'm going to help them, but they can sense when I need help. They can sense things before they happen. And that's kind of the whole thing about necromancy, is that the dead, they know secrets. They gain this kind of, psychic abilities and knowledge. And that's been a belief since ancient times about when people say, why do necromancy? That the dead, they transcend physical existence, and therefore they gain knowledge, and they can share that with us, those of us who are listening. And that's my unbelievably crazy story, but it's totally true. Everybody's fine. I even looked online to see if there was a fatality crash in that kind of area, and there wasn't. It was really great. There wasn't any fatality DUIs reported that night in this surrounding suburbs area, because I looked for another couple, and so that was really great to know that everybody got home alive, because of course my compassion even extends to the bum who almost killed us, in that slight way. This is why I do this, guys. This is why I do it. They altered my life. They reached out, and they came to the physical plane to entertain me all night and make me tired so I wouldn't drive. And it's an amazing story, but it's totally true. And this is another example, another time. There's been a couple of others. So, that ghosts have literally saved my life so that I can still be here to help them and all these other things. It's crazy, but it's totally true. Like, the other one being that I sleepwalk out of my house when I was a kid, and I lived in that haunted house. And my dad ran out and found me at like close to a park down the street, still sleepwalking, because I had big problems with sleepwalking. And he brought me back, and he was like, "Who's the guy in the window?" There was a guy waving in the window, standing across the street. So that got my attention. He was up watching TV, and he didn't hear me leave out the back door. And so I was like, everybody was like, well, there's no guy around. He stayed up the rest of the night looking for a guy. He described what he looked like in like a sweater with stripes, dark hair, cut short, jeans, tighter jeans that, and just a guy wearing jeans and sneakers. And that was the guy who was coming to me for help. And I mean, if I would have wandered, right, there's crazy people outside at night. Kidnapping. There was a nearby water source not too far from that park. I could have died if my friend, who was trying, I didn't understand how to help him yet. I was young. If he didn't come to the physical plane and reach out for me, I wouldn't be alive. I mean, it's crazy. It's totally crazy, but it's completely true. I hope you guys enjoyed my crazy, I still am in disbelief in some ways, Halloween story. And I just hope you guys are all staying safe out there, staying grounded when needed and ungrounded when you feel like it. I'll talk to you guys later.